Okay, let's see how this goes. Well, it seems like I can at least talk regularly instead of at a whisper. So that's mainly why I haven't recorded in a few days, because I've been coughing so much that I don't have a voice. And it's starting to get a little better, but I went to the doctor yesterday and I was told that I have bronchitis. So I'm still going to be coughing a fair amount. I'd say mainly the coughing will be a problem when sleeping, which is very frustrating because I will be getting crappy sleep. So last night I was coughing a ton and I actually decided not to get any suppressants from the doctor. The doctor offered to give me something at night, and for some reason I just decided not to take it because I get kind of concerned about some medicine when it ends up being very strong, and even NyQuil is pretty strong, and I ended up taking it last night because whenever I'm horizontal, the coughing is very, very bad. So it makes it very difficult for me to fall asleep, so I decided to just take it, and it helped for maybe 6 hours, but I did wake up later and started coughing a ton again, so it made it so hard to go into the office today, this morning, so I decided to work from home. And I did text my manager about having bronchitis yesterday, so he said that if I worked from home today, he was fine with it. The coughing just really sucks, and I haven't had a voice, so I can't even call places, whether it's like a doctor's appointment or even canceling my dental cleaning. I had cleaning on Tuesday that was scheduled 6 months ago, but I had to cancel it because I'm not going to be able to sit there with my mouth open having them clean me without coughing. That would suck. I finally feel like I can talk again, although admittedly right now I kind of feel like I'm going out of breath very easily from talking. Maybe I shouldn't record too long of a segment right now because of this, but there are a few things that I would love to talk about. I guess I'll just do that later, but right now I'm about to go pick up some lunch. I was just gonna get a medium bubble tea and maybe pick up some sushi, but that is another thing that I was thinking about. I haven't exercised since I got sick, outside of maybe going on my spin bike twice, because it's hard for me to really get into exercising when I could be coughing any second very hard, and just breathing feels a little bit difficult maybe because I kind of feel something in here. My throat doesn't hurt anymore, but I do still feel a little something when I'm breathing, so I don't think it's a good idea for me to keep putting off exercising. I should still do some. Maybe I will spin more later, but just in general, I don't want to completely do nothing. That wouldn't make me feel good either. Bronchitis goes away in weeks, though. That's another thing that's really, really terrible. But I hope at least that the coughing will be majorly different within a couple days.
Welcome to Armchair Expert.
Oops. Okay, I'm gonna head out. Okay, well, I'm back from getting my sushi and getting my tea. I apologize if it'll be hard to watch this video because of my voice. It's frustrating for me too. I guess I'll kind of talk through what I've been up to lately. I honestly haven't really been in the mood to be filming anything. Even my appetite is non-existent lately. The sushi I was eating earlier normally probably would have tasted really good, but today I was just thinking it's alright. There is a Dota chess tournament on today that I'm just putting on to watch. I don't actually follow Dota chess tournaments, but I have been playing it every day. I guess something, I'm not really sure, worth bringing up. Maybe people will remember me mentioning it in my experience as a female in online gaming video, is that I talked about this one guy from the very early years of me playing WoW, my mage partner who I got Gladiator with, who I really liked, and we liked each other romantically, but he was in a relationship in person, so it kind of became very complicated because he got her pregnant and he was emotionally involved with me, but then we cut off contact because his situation was pretty serious, and I was young at that time. I knew that it was not a good association with him at that age also, so I was distancing myself until he told me he got her pregnant, and then I was like, all right, no more of this. Over the years, I have still thought of him pretty fondly, I guess. I think it's a strong nostalgia feeling. But anyways, a month ago, he actually messaged me on Instagram. And that was very surprising for me because we haven't really talked much in 10 years. Maybe very, very briefly, I talked to him for a tiny bit when I was on Shane's BattleNet account. It was so brief that it doesn't really mean anything, but after he messaged me, we were talking pretty regularly for a few days, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The conversation was actually pretty decent. We would be sending each other paragraphs of text because there's so much to catch up on in a decade, right? So it was really nice catching up with him again. But I guess ultimately, or at least last week, I decided to tell him that I don't see myself getting long-term enjoyment out of talking to him because I know he has to place restrictions on himself because he would mention that he feels like talking to me is a slippery slope, that he doesn't want to overstep boundaries where talking to me too frequently, he feels like it would be betraying his wife now. And I can understand that our situation is very, very complicated, but I will say that I have never agreed with their relationship. I don't feel like it's considered a healthy relationship, in my opinion. And he did tell me a few other things afterwards that happened that kind of show that, but at the same time, there are different people who are working through complications to stay together, so that part I will respect. But just in general, I just feel like if he was wavering emotionally at a serious time where she was pregnant, I personally would not stay in a relationship like that long term, even if there was a child involved. I feel like it's possible that my opinion is not realistic because all I have to go on is what I draw from movies and stuff. But they're obviously my opinions. I don't form them because of movies, but I see movies where kids have parents that are together and they're very unhappy, but they stay together because of the kid. And I would never want to be like that. So I don't know if that's him in this example. I'm sure there was a point in time where it was bad enough to be like that. But I just also think that in her position, if I had a boyfriend who was emotionally involved with another woman, I would not stay with him. And I feel like that's kind of not respecting yourself and being confident in who you are if you want to stay with someone that disrespects you like that. I just feel like I didn't like the situation of me talking to him again. I was really excited to talk to him, honestly, and it was really nice for the brief period of time. But after I sent him that message about not getting enjoyment out of it when I'm talking to someone who restricts themselves, he hasn't texted me back, and that's okay because he was saying how he would find it weird if he was texting someone or talking to someone, a female, more than his wife. And that makes sense. But if she's your wife and you talk to someone else more than her, why is she your wife? I kind of feel like, at least for me, if I was in a relationship with someone and I loved the hell out of them, at least for my preference, I've mentioned before that I'm very talkative. I like to talk throughout the day, all day, every day. And maybe that will fade if I'm with someone for a very, very long time. But I don't know because I've never been with someone that long. But that is why I would tend to think that if I am married to someone and I've been with them for years, even if it was long-term like that, I could still see myself talking to that person more than a guy friend, you know? Because that person will be that one being that really gets my sense of humor. They know me very well, so I would be able to say anything and everything to them. And that would mean that most likely my frequency of talking to them would be higher than any friend. I just am not really fond of their relationship, so even though I'm talking to one side of it, he didn't tell her he was talking to me again. So I'm quite sure that if he told her, she would be very unhappy about it and probably forbid him from talking to me again, even though she kind of already did, and he was thinking that since time had passed, that maybe it would be okay to reach out for a little bit again. And something I will say is that I really liked that he was brutally honest, and it was really good to hear about some of the things he was thinking over the years when we haven't been talking, and maybe just about like how he feels about me, which according to him, he doesn't feel the same, but he also says he has never talked to someone with the level of frequency he has talked to me at least 10 years ago. So I guess those factors probably still makes him think very fondly of me, but he has a wife, he has a kid, he has a second baby coming this year. So there is probably 0% chance that he would leave his wife. And anyways, it has been 10 years. I said that to him. I said that we've changed so much as people, and I am not interested in talking to you in a romantic fashion. Strictly platonic. I like to catch up, and I like you as a person. We got along really well back then, so talking to you as a friend is completely fine with me, but not interested romantically at all. And I'm pretty sure he understands that. Regardless of all that, I'm pretty sure, based on what I know of his wife, she would still hate him talking to me, so he hasn't texted back. I have often thought of him over the years. Obviously, I would never reach out to him first because I just don't want to deal with the whole wife thing on the side. I just know that she wouldn't be happy about it. I kind of just wanted to say one more thing, because in regards to the situation with the guy from WoW, I don't want it to come across like I'm being super inconsiderate about his wife and everything. I know my role in the situation isn't ideal, but I didn't actually do anything that shameful. I feel like the extent of our relationship is that we played games together, we talked a lot, we called each other pet names, but I never sent him pictures of myself. I never sexted with him. I never really did any of that. So at most, my role was just somebody for him to be focused on outside of his girlfriend. But that is probably why I feel like I am not entirely in the wrong if I'm simply speaking to him. But I know that from her perspective, it's just not good for him to be interacting with me whatsoever. So I don't want it to seem like, who cares about that girl? Like, why can't I just speak to this guy? Like, very narrow-minded like that. The main reason that I don't like the controlling aspect is because I just personally don't think that you should control your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend in a relationship. And I know there are fine lines for situations like that where someone might be interested in someone else and they're communicating with them. But I just feel like, for example, if I had a boyfriend and he was talking to a girl that he was interested in, I would not be controlling him to not talk to her. I would say that as long as conversation is platonic, even if in his mind he is interested in her, if he doesn't act on it, then that's okay, because it really just depends on trust. I'd say in situations like this, if he has a crush on her in the beginning and they're talking, but if he doesn't act on it and eventually that feeling goes away, then that's fine, because I'm pretty sure that these random crushes in a long-term relationship will definitely form, but it really just depends on how that person handles the situation. So I just think that for me, I will never control what my significant other does. So even in sensitive situations like this, if they're talking to somebody, I would not read their messages. I will not control them. I would not be like, no, you cannot talk to this girl. But if they cross a line with how they interact with this person, then yeah, I'm gonna break up with you. That is how I would view it. I would rather you do whatever the fuck you want, but if you disrespect me in the sense of interacting with someone inappropriately while in a relationship, then I will end the relationship. But prior to that, I'm not gonna control you. I don't like, influencing someone's actions while in a relationship in a controlling aspect, because I feel like I've been on the receiving end of that before in previous relationships, and I hated it. I would know how it felt to be stifled, and it would be very uncomfortable, but at that age, I wasn't really thinking of asserting myself in that way, so I kind of let them dictate certain things. Like the boyfriend that I had after college, he would be a little bit jealous or angry about how certain guys would talk to me online. So I just remember this one time, it was shortly after Hearthstone beta came out, and I had a beta account and he didn't, so we would be playing Hearthstone on my account together in person. And I remember this one time where I think somebody sent me a message saying, I miss you, and then he would put the heart symbol after that. And I think my boyfriend at the time responded to that guy in a very rude manner, and then he got mad at me for what that person said to me, even though I can't control what people say to me. And that is just something that I know that I wouldn't tolerate anymore, because I play games. I will have a lot of people that are male online, and just throughout the past, like, people would say baby girl to me, but they're not saying it in a flirty way. I think for one of them, they were saying it in a kind of, I don't know, it just honestly never felt that way to me. It felt more like a friendly manner, or maybe I'm naive for that one, but I really don't think so, because in terms of that one person, it has always felt like brother sister kind of friendly, where we would talk about life and he would give me advice and I would tell him about my problems kind of thing. So it wasn't romantic baby girl kind of way, but that's just an example of being stifled and controlled in a relationship, and I'm just not a fan of it. So that is where I draw my opinions in terms of this guy's scenario with his wife and our history, where I just don't think that it's good to be in a relationship where you have to really control who you talk to and stuff like that. But people also tend to think that you can't have members of the opposite sex as a friend. My manager that I was very good friends with in New Jersey, he believes that. And I do understand to a certain extent why that is. But there are just certain guys that I've been friends with in the past, especially, for example, the one that I'm going to the wedding for. I think there's like a 0% chance of me being sexually attracted to him. So really, I don't know. Obviously it's a different perspective, but I just wanted to clear that up so people don't think I'm being the other woman wanting to keep talking to someone and thinking that the wife is being unfair, because just overall, I don't think the relationship is healthy. So that is my take on it. All right, well, next thing, and it's actually really tough talking like this, but my brother texted me about Warcraft, the movie, last week. And he was talking about how they should make Warcraft into a TV show because the lore is so good. And he's kind of right about that, because I feel like I have this new spark in me again, similar to when I first watched that movie. So Warcraft, the movie, came out in 2016. And I went to see it with my brother and his friend in New York. I think we saw it in IMAX or something like that. Let me take a sip to moisturize my throat a little bit. I went to see it with him in IMAX, and I remember thinking, right after I watched the movie, I loved it in a nostalgia way because everything that you could recognize from being in the game was amazing to see on screen. But the story and the pacing and all of that was definitely very up and down. They also forced in romance in the movie. That was very, very cringy. I hated that. But outside of that, and there were also other issues with it where they would kind of force you to try to care about certain characters dying when you don't. And seeing that can be a little annoying as well. But I actually decided to watch the movie over recently, a couple days ago, after my brother talked to me about it. Because honestly, I have completely forgot about the movie. But what I will say is that 3 years ago, when I first watched the movie, it inspired me to read the books because I have never known Warcraft lore whatsoever. When I was playing WoW back 10 years, 12 years ago, whatever it was, I loved the game so much. It is still my favorite time period of my gaming online, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know any characters. I don't know anybody. I would see Anduin standing in Stormwind Keep and not care about him. I feel like after reading some of the books, it definitely changes me because so what happened is I read Rise of the Horde, I read The Last Guardian, and I think I was in the middle of Tides of Darkness, which is the third one, but I stopped reading for some reason. After I watched the movie over a couple days ago, I got that same exact feeling again where I was like, you know what? Why did I stop reading this lore? I actually really like it. So instead of jumping straight to where I left off all those years ago because I forgot everything, I decided to start over again. So actually, Rise of the Horde, I finished yesterday. It is generally pretty short, I think, but I still read a lot where I kind of feel like I want to just get through them quickly just to know what happens. So right now I'm starting The Last Guardian. I'm really excited to read this stuff because it really gives me meaning to all the NPCs you see in the game. And it kind of makes me wonder if it will make Classic, if it comes out anytime soon. It kind of makes me wonder if Classic will be extra enjoyable, even if they fuck it up, just so I can relive all that stuff again, because it's just so many things you think about when you start off in Elwyn Forest, and then you go to Goldshire, and then you make your way to Westfall, and then there's all those quests that you remember. Like, I remember the first few quests that you pick up in Westfall, where those NPCs standing in front of, like, the wheelbarrow, and then they send you into the fields where the harvest golems were, and you would do those quests, and there would be gnolls on the side. So you remember all these things, and you remember the first time you bought your mount from your very hard-earned gold. All of those memories are so precious. Outside of those things in game, I have just been very, very excited to read the lore again, and it honestly makes me emotional. The lore is very good. When I watched the movie, Duratan was the character that stood out to me the most. I cried when he died because it was just so sad and honorable and admirable for how he tried to keep his conscience clear despite nearly everyone in his race going along with Gul'dan and just mindlessly killing and slaughtering the Draenei. And now that I know more about Duratan, I am super eager to read more about Thrall in the future because I don't know anything about Thrall. And also, I was really looking forward to getting to Arthas and Jaina's storyline back then, which I never got to. So hopefully this time around, I'll be able to find out about all of them and I'm super excited and looking forward to it. Oh yes, and Khadgar was a character I really liked as well. Alright, so with that said, I will probably get back to work. I'm supposed to be working from home right now, and hopefully that wasn't too hard to understand. I really hope that my voice doesn't stay this terrible for weeks, because bronchitis, she said, takes 2 to 3 weeks, and oh man, it has been so frustrating. Also, tomorrow the Dota 2 major starts at 5:30 in the morning. Oh God, VP plays at 5:30, and I want to watch them, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it work because my sleep has been so bad. I've been very tired and waking up exhausted because I'm not sleeping well. So waking up at 5:30 and still managing to make it through my entire workday, I don't really know if that will work out. I was really hoping I wouldn't still be sick during the Dota 2 major, but I guess the good thing is that I'm not actually having any pain. It's just mainly annoyance. I'm honestly really excited about the Warcraft thing. Oh, another thing I did want to say is that I was really impressed with the Warcraft visuals. I feel like oftentimes for fantasy movies, there's always something with their CGI that I managed to have an issue with, but I thought the orcs looked amazing. I liked the way the frost wolves looked. Like, they looked very accurate compared to the game. So that was so nice to see, and I kind of find it unlikely, but I would love to see a sequel because the Warcraft lore is so good, and seeing it on a screen in live action, more of the story, would be really nice. I just remember when the movie came out, they didn't think the American box office was good enough to justify a sequel, even though China numbers were really good, so it's probably not gonna happen.